Man, people are outraged. The Halloween outrage. My buddy just texted me. Said he almost threw Batman and his son off the porch. He was watching it. And he said the filling of the bag, and there was little kids behind the dad. And he said the worst part was he was stuffing his own pockets after the kid's bag.
Oh, that's so sickening.
Oh. It is, and there's little kids behind him.
We're talking adults here, which is just amazing.
And it's, all right, you want to throw some trinkets in the kid's bag, go ahead, but you start stuffing your own pockets, I'll come outside and talk to you. Insane.
Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to operate with a situation like that, other than like stepping out and snapping. Like, other than you basically have got to set a standard so everyone else in your neighborhood understands that kind of activity just simply can't happen.
No.
And yet it does. I mean, that's the world we live in. And what's even crazier is almost everyone has a camera now. Like, so many people have cameras, so you're risking the chance of that being
going viral,
going public. Yeah, like. And as far as I know, these are not public figures, but at some point that is going to happen. Someone that is a public figure is going to get caught doing something at someone's door, and it's going to go viral, and people are going to – I don't know if you lose your job for something like that. You shouldn't. It's stupid. You should be embarrassed. But
I don't think I would lose my friendship with you, Hayes, if I saw you, but I would be like, you're not the same. I can't – I don't know you.
No, it would change your whole view of that person.
Yes, you're stuffing candy into your pockets and your shorts.
I know. It's sickening. Sickening behavior.
That behavior is sickening. And you guys know I get frustrated, and I am cameraman. I've got everything there. Last night, I had the lights off, everything. 10 o'clock, I'm settling in to watch Vancouver. I get a doorbell ring, and I look. 12 people.
At 10 o'clock, that's
no,
late.
No lights means don't come by.
You're out. You're done. You're finished.
Out. 2 cars, 2 SUVs on the street, 12 people. The youngest, at least maybe 1 year old, this little tiny spud. And so I was like, all right, I'll open the door because I see them come up. At first I'm thinking this is a home invasion because it's 10 o'clock. And then these cute little kids come up, and the parents have bags too. Legitimate parents had bags, so I gave all 12 of them. I said, "Here's chips, here's candy. Get the hell out of here!"
Right.
Like I was
Don't
frustrated,
come back.
but it's like,
it's not
weird.
Festive when it gets to that point. It
Guys,
stops.
I think there should be a new movement. Just no lights. There's no candy. Don't leave anything.
That's understood. That's a societal thing. That's a societal rule that everyone understands.
No, people ruined it. I'm just not participating in Halloween.
Because I did that with my kids. Like, they don't know any better, but I will tell them, no, that house is closed. Leave that house alone. And then they don't care. They're like, all right, we'll move to the next one. It's not like kids are dying to get up there. And if they do knock and they're on their own, it's probably because they don't know any better. They're just going house to house to house. But if it's young kids with parents, that's got to be on them to understand. That shop is not operating right now. It's not open. It's clear. Everything's dark in there. Everyone knows what's going on. So, well, listen, we got 364 more days until we get back to Halloween. I guarantee you the same kind of stuff will be happening next year.
Oh, yeah.
Happens every single year. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Dallas Braden coming up in about 25 minutes. Darren Dreger will join us here in a moment. The Leafs are in action tomorrow in Boston against the Bruins. And these are the games you circle. We've been talking about it all afternoon. We had Ray on last hour. Ray even indicated that Sheldon Keefe was kind of – his demeanor behind the bench last night indicated he knew what was up. It was a flat night. It happened. They didn't play well. They were coming off a road trip. I don't think it's a trap game where you're looking ahead to Boston, but I think this Leaf team understands, what Boston represents. And Milan Lucic is injured, so he won't be there. If you're waiting for a Ryan Reeves versus Lucic type of situation, which I'm not sure that would have happened. But Bertuzzi going back, a lot of history there. And last night, they played poorly, and it was over quick. Everyone kind of knew it, and you move on. But, we've been talking about the 7 Canadian teams a lot for the better part of a month and a half, 2 months. And Leafs are 5-3-1. They'll take it. There's some things that they need to rectify, and there's some things that are going to pop up that will flare up and put the spotlight on them. But Montreal's been quiet, had a really good start. Vancouver's been relatively quiet, really good start. Winnipeg, I think, has solidified themselves, right, as a team that is going to be in the running here. They had a bad start. Rick Bowness wasn't happy early in the year, but they've kind of steadied the ship. It's Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa. Like, those are the three teams in the country that are leading SportsCenter. And tonight, undoubtedly, it's what happened in Ottawa today. And to chat about it, we're joined now by our TSN hockey insider, Darren Dreger. Dregs, we played some audio earlier. Michael Andlauer, the new owner of the Sens, who was at the podium speaking today, which I appreciate. But he was not happy, and it seemed like he wasn't happy with Gary Bettman in particular for not allowing him to, know that Pinto was being investigated, that this Dadonov trade was going to cost them some sort of pick in the future. It turns out to be a first-round pick, which is a heavy price to pay. Yeah. Ends up costing Pierre Dorion his job today. But what did you make of Andlauer's approach, and how much of a gripe do you think he actually has here as a new owner?
Well, I liked his approach. He was very direct. He was very transparent. From a media perspective, that's refreshing because we've seen and we've read a couple of media releases from the National Hockey League that don't disclose much. They leave more questions than they do answers. So in this case, Andlauer kind of painting the picture was refreshing. But there's a couple of problems with it. Like, there's no way Michael Andlauer and that group wouldn't have known that the Dadonov situation was in play before he took over ownership of the Ottawa Senators. No way. Now, did he know that he was going to have to forfeit a first-round draft pick? Probably not. But he would have known that the NHL had investigated, was continuing to investigate, and didn't like the optics of it, going back to, the original trade call between Vegas and Anaheim. So, we're skipping over details, but I was surprised at how forward and how direct Andlauer was.
Darren, you have to take me through the transaction of the trade to Vegas and not uncovering the proper information. It just seems so amateur hour and such like a normal thing to do and such like protocol where you would have like an assistant GM beside you saying, by the way, this has to be done. Like, how did this happen? If I'm a fan of the Sens, I'm thinking all the trades that are ever made, and how in the hell did this happen to us?
Well, look, at the end of it all, I don't know that Andlauer would come out and say this was the final straw, and I think he deflected in trying to answer that. But it had to have been the final straw for Pierre Dorion, because when you go back to, again, these trade calls, that's judge and jury. I described this on SportsCenter. And I think it's a flaw in the system, and it's one that the NHL doesn't seem obligated to want to correct. Why they don't in-house that information, I don't know. I mean, agents make mistakes. General managers make mistakes. Why the Ottawa Senators at that time didn't disclose that Dadonov had a limited no trade, which, by the way, then included Anaheim, unless we hear from Pierre Dorion, which isn't likely anytime soon, there's no answer for that. But that was the information that the NHL worked off of on that trade call. That's why they initially approved the trade. And then when the agent came out and said, wait a minute, we have proof here that shows Ottawa has the no trade list or limited no trade list, then the league had to rescind the trade. That's an embarrassment on everybody involved, with the exception of the Vegas Golden Knights, who were maligned at the time, thinking, okay, well, here's Vegas getting away with another one. Well, no, they didn't. They were operating on good faith. So I don't want to pile on Pierre Dorion because they described it as a mutual exit, right? Okay, I get that too. And I think that's out of respect to Dorion, the fact he has done good work as general manager of the Ottawa Senators, went through tough times under the supervision of Eugene Melnyk and company. I mean, I get it. But this is not the way that Michael Andlauer and Steve Stales wanted to go into the first few months of ownership and management of the Ottawa Senators. So everybody cuts bait, and let's see how they advance moving forward.
Dregs, what's next for them? I mean, you got to name a general manager. Have you sniffing around on some names? Do they believe they have it in house? Is Steve Staios obviously a guy that what do you think is next? Or do you think they would name somebody immediately, or kind of just wait on it?
Well, I'm hesitant to say, other than what I got from the media availability today. And Staios himself said they're going to look at the options that are available, but you do have to look at the relationship between Staios and Michael Andlauer, a significant one, a very trusting one, obviously in the Ontario League with them, the Hamilton Bulldogs. Does Steve feel he's ready for the job? Or has he done enough work on the periphery of being the president of hockey operations to learn everything he needs to know about everything under hockey ops of the Ottawa Senators, including Belleville? And if the answer to that is yes, then I think they can absolutely fill it in internally. You've got Cyril Leader back into the pack, so he can help manage things on the business side. Ryan Bonus, he's an interesting guy, and many believe that he's quality of being a general manager in the NHL. Is he ready? Or at least is he ready to be Staios' right-hand man for the foreseeable future? Because I think you guys agree, Ottawa has turned the corner. Doesn't mean that they're where they need to be to contend anytime soon, but they've turned a corner here. So if you bring in an experienced manager, whoever that might be, I see people speculating on Peter Chiarelli. Okay, well, with all due respect to Pete Chiarelli, what's he bringing into the mix? We know he's got experience, but it's a league that needs fresh eyes and decorated credentials. And Chiarelli has part of that in his time with the Boston Bruins. But when I look at the Ottawa situation, I think it's up to Staios. He's the interim general manager until he doesn't want to be the interim general manager. And I think we know Staios pretty well. I'd be surprised if he gives up that job.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's been kind of happening in the NHL, right? We saw that with Dubas in Pittsburgh, where you get in there, you're at the top. And that's why
just stay there.
Yeah, just stay there. And Staios is in there as a hockey guy. He's not in there to shake hands and kiss babies, and he's there to operate on the hockey side of things. So he's going to have the last word anyway. But yeah, it's an interesting what could happen here in the future with Ottawa, because they're 8 games in here. The expectations don't change because Dorion's left. Like, you're dealing with a market here that is craving success. Right, and I'm curious where the head coach comes into play here, Dregs, because, at some point you bring in a new owner, a new president, they're going to bring in their own people. And today was their opportunity to push Dorion out. I can't imagine DJ Smith is feeling overly secure, but I don't think that's fair. He didn't ask for new ownership, and if they have success there, I would think if you're DJ Smith, you're thinking, why would I not be able to finish this out? If I find a way to get them to win here. And the team has not quit on him by any means. So, I'm curious where that goes.
Well, it's a good question. I know that DJ Smith is there wouldn't be many coaches in the National Hockey League that don't. That comes with the territory. I'm in the camp that thinks he's a good coach. And maybe there's a bit of relief. And it's not like he and Dorion didn't have a good relationship. But I don't know that DJ ever formally knew where he stood with Pierre Dorion, right? Because Dorion he was trying to put out fires left, right, and center until very recently in the last year or so. So I think that was a good relationship, but I'm not saying that it was the strongest one. And then because of that, it just fuels a market. I mean, head coaches are always a target. General managers are always a target. Underperforming players, again, that comes with the territory. I think that Dorion or Staios and Andlauer and that company, they need to understand more about the coaching side of things and whether or not they've got the right group there. And that might be positive, it might be negative. But it feels like, as we're having this conversation, the 1st of November, that's not something that they're focused on right now. They're focused on stability. I think DJ is a good coach. Mm-hmm. I do. I might be wrong. You guys tell me. Noodles, you do a ton of their games. I think he's a good coach. And I think that this is a bloodthirsty fan group that knew there was change coming. And it wasn't Dorion, it wasn't Dorion, it wasn't Dorion. So something happens in a game for a period or a full game, and the easiest target is to chant at a head coach without even really understanding what you're talking about or what's going on behind the scenes. For now, I think stability is the answer for Ottawa, and that probably bodes well for DJ.
And I think DJ has a possibility of having a positive light shed on himself, Darren, because we were talking about the Pinto, the draft pick, the GM getting fired. It's really noisy for everybody in the organization. And they got a bunch of young players that probably aren't used to this type of noise, and it's unsettling. But the only way out of it is to win some hockey games to quiet the noise. And then everyone can just talk about the Sens winning games. Because if they follow this nonsense up with a bunch of losses, then you've got an absolute gong show on your hands. And it gets real messy. And you don't like coming to the rink. And it's a real gong show. And everyone hates each other. And so they have a chance to just take this noise away with wins. So DJ can shine a positive light on himself.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you know what? There's been, DJ isn't an inexperienced head coach by any stretch, but dealing with the media can be challenging every single day, sometimes multiple times a day as a head coach. And I think what we're going to get from DJ moving forward, you're going to get the honesty. You're going to get a level of transparency. But he said something recently where he talked about the month of September, and he essentially said, well, our hope going in was that we'd be 500. And I'm paraphrasing. Noodles, do you remember exactly what he said? But that's more aligned. And he got lambasted for that locally, the fan base. So maybe there's some media training there, not that it's needed for DJ only. I mean, there's lots of coaches that learn, but I think they have to embrace less is more. And you know what, guys? Ann Lauer talked a little bit about that, not at all related to DJ, but how angry he was about the leaks and this and that getting out. Where is it coming from? Toronto has done a pretty good job of closing that off over the years, and I think that Ottawa is going to follow suit here. We may not love it, but that's fine. Let's analyze. Let's offer our opinion. Let's speculate. That's what we do. But what shouldn't happen is when the manager or the head coach just fuels the fire. And I think DJ is learning in that process.
With Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, mentioned the Penguins a few moments ago. And I'm curious what your read on, their situation is, Dregs, with Dubas taking the gig, taking the titles. He chose the job. He wanted the job. He got it. Sid's playing every game, putting up points. Gino's playing every game, putting up points. But they're losing a lot of hockey games, and it's getting ugly already. And I'm just curious what kind of options he has, because Dubas spent a lot of money in the offseason, a lot of money. They brought in a lot of pieces, a lot of veteran guys with term. Like, has he made his bed, or can he find a way to kind of work around this?
Well, we don't know that. It's hard in season, and that seems like a dismissive answer because I get that all the time from Matt. And whatnot. When you make the bold moves that Kyle Dubas made as the newly minted general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins, it feels like those bold moves, and we're talking specifically here of our Erik Karlsson, right? Mm-hmm. That's got to pan out. Now, it's still too early to say that it hasn't and it won't, but, man, and you and I talked a little bit about this on set last night during the Leafs game. That power play, with all that talent, it looks messy out there, and yet, continually it's circled around Erik Karlsson, and I get that. I mean, he's the new toy. I understand it. We know the points, Norris Trophy and all that. I guess the question that I throw out there without answering, Brian, is why wasn't there enough space and ice and puck for Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns back in the day in San Jose? And why did Kyle Dubas think that was going to translate and it was going to work in Pittsburgh with Chris Letang? I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about power plays, but it It looks like they're still trying to figure out. They know what the pieces of the puzzle are. They can't figure out how to put them in place. And one thing I do know is the head coach, Mike Sullivan. He is as stubborn as a bull, absolutely stubborn. So he's not being directed by Kyle Dubas or anyone else. So when he flips that switch and he says, okay, this power play isn't working, and sorry, EK, you're off, and Letang is sliding in there, then we've got a story to chew on.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one because, Sullivan's won the Cup. Sullivan was involved in the process of finding his boss, which you
can't keep watching that. Like, you can't keep saying, keep going out there and keep doing what you're costing your hockey games, man.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is, like, who's got more power there is my question. Like, if Dubas is looking at it saying, I don't like this coach, can he fire Sullivan? He couldn't fire Babcock right away. He did not have the right to do that. There was no way it was going to happen. Eventually it happened, but the dynamics are interesting. You're like, we just talked about DJ Smith and Steos. It's no different here. Dubas has inherited a coach, great coach, but it's not his coach. So what happens? I think that's worth watching. I don't know who would win right
now. How are we going to find out? It's way too early to panic. You can look around the National Hockey League. I mean, it's like an inferno around the Calgary Flames, and you go around the National Hockey League.
Everything's on fire, man.
We're not even 10 games in, but there's certainly stories that we need to talk about.
Yep, that's right. I mean, but it becomes 20 games quick, Dregs, as you know. Then it's 30, and then not all these teams are going to dig out. Some of them are going to be at the bottom, and that's where they're going to stay. We'll see.
Can I leave you with this, Brian?
Yep.
Can I leave you with this?
Yeah.
I thought last night Joel, who doesn't deserve any blame for that game, he still carried the poise of Carey Price.
That's what's important. And that's what we want to see. You're right. That's exactly it.
Joe from the bridge, Darren from the bridge.
Jerry Price.
Yes, he does have that. He reminds me of Carey Price, a young Carey Price. I agree with you.
Here you go, boys.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dregs. We
All right,
appreciate it.
anytime.
All right, there's Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider. Yeah, he was good last night, though. I thought Wall was all right. He gave up 4, but... And 1 or 2 you'd like back for sure. The third goal, I think, from the slot, you'd like that back. But he made some big stops, last night. And the Leafs were flat. Like the only way they were getting a point last night is if he stood on his head, and it was a 1-1 game.
The only way they were getting a point last night is if those first two power play opportunities close together, they made something of them, but they just couldn't capitalize to get them back energized and in the game.
Yeah.
And when those were over, it was lights out.
Yeah, that was one of those early on. Even when Tavares scored, you're like, it's too late. It's 3-1. They're not making this up.
But they had some power plays early on where it could have changed their chances, given them some life, but they couldn't capitalize, and they were messy power plays. They actually lost some momentum as little as they had. Right. They lost more, and it was just a downhill battle or uphill battle from there.
Yep. Canada's largest demo club sale is back at Golf Town to celebrate. Listen to First Up on OverDrive this Friday for your chance to win a $500 Golf Town gift card. Plus, follow us on Instagram at TSN1050 for more chances to win. Golf Town's demo club sale is your chance to save up to 40% on gently used demo clubs from top brands like TaylorMade, Ping, Callaway, Cobra, Mizuno, and more. Early online access beginning tomorrow, November 2nd at noon at golftown.com. Then on November 4th, the event moves in-store only at all locations. Details at golftown.com. Our best bet still to come. Dallas Braden on Game 5 of the World Series still to come as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Dallas Braden coming up in a moment. Game 5 of the World Series tonight. Mine was basically a pretzel this morning. Owen and I were up at our TaylorMade friends, right? We were up with TaylorMade.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was hitting left, and I was actually swinging pretty well.
Dude, you caught some attention when you were lefty. Nicky and company, they were. There was a professional in there.
Mac Boucher was in there, our guy Mac.
Yes.
We love Mac.
and he said, I think you should play left-handed. So I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
But be honest, don't be an idiot. Did you tell him before he walked in? No, but before he walked in, did you say when we go in here, I'm going to say you should shoot left, you say he should shoot left? Because
dude, that guy dropped out of the sky like Mission Impossible. I've never met the guy in my life. What do you think? I'd pull a stranger aside and say, hey, can you tell that donkey in there that he's left-handed?
Well,
I don't know the guy.
I know, but
I looked at everyone and I said, can you make your own assessment? Watch him hit left-handed, watch him hit right-handed. Mm-hmm. And they all said, if you want to be a better golfer, play left-handed. But I'm tired of telling you that.
All right. So don't tell me anymore, because you should have seen this guy coercing votes. It was like we were on the floor of the Senate. This guy, he's trying to whip up votes for me. And by the end of it, everyone's like, yeah, you should shoot left.
Look at this guy.
That's
with
me
Tiger in the background. That should be your screen pick on any of your social media.
Yeah.
You and Tiger Woods, man.
That's is pretty cool,
shit.
actually. It is pretty cool. I was in the Tiger room, Tiger watching me, and that's me set up as a lefty hitting a 7-iron, the P790. I was hitting the ball pretty well, Noodles. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'll be honest, but you've admitted on the show. You crumple up a couple $100 in your hand, and then it's the handshake. So I feel like you might have had a few handshakes along there to try and coerce, because you are pretty good at talking people into things, or at least creating a narrative.
This is something, though, that's personal for me, because I want this guy to reach his potential golfing. I hate it that he's going to be a chop if he doesn't change. I hate it.
Well, I'm not a chop. I mean,
well, no, but
I hear what you're
potential.
saying.
There's room
potential.
for growth, and all you got to do is all winter hit lefties in a hitting cage, and you'll be ready.
I might try it.
Yes.
I was, because I hit the Stout today. I hit the P790. I had the new MG4s I was trying. We were putting up there, doing a whole bunch of things.
Dude, it's so sick up there.
It's incredible at TaylorMade, but literally, Noodles, people coming out of nowhere, walking in saying, yeah, you should turn to a lefty, and then leaving. I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, this guy's walking around the facility finding people to come in, watch me swing once.
Baseball.
And then all of a sudden it's, I got to hit left. So anyway, the Rangers 10-0 on the road this postseason. We had Ryan Dempster on the other day, and he couldn't, wrap his head around that. No one that's played the game, no one that's played sports, period, can understand how you win 10 in a row on the road. And Texas has a chance to close tonight on the road. And to chat about it, we're joined now by longtime MLBer, one of our favorites, big in the podcast game, of course. Here is Dallas Braden. Dallas, you're a big league guy yourself. Ryan Dempster could not figure this out. Do you have a theory as to why Texas is so successful on the road?
Because they got road dogs.
Okay.
Because they got road dogs. And what I mean by that is they got guys who are, and this was a theory that was passed along to me at a very early age, get comfortable on the mound and learn to call that home. And to heck with where the stadium is actually located, once you're on the mound, you're at home. And in the batter's box, you're at home. So I think what happens in the postseason is you try to be able to adopt and then adapt to that mindset. And that's a heck of a lot easier said than done. And, take Demp's word for it. When you think about a schedule and you think about playing in the friendly confines of your ballpark and everything that goes along with being at home, right? You hear it all the time, same route to the ballpark, sleeping in your own bed, yada, yada, yada. But the idea that you're performing in front of your hometown crowd and, it's like the fans and you as a team kind of have your own little inside jokes. They understand, what the double celebration is when you get to second. And everybody's just kind of pulling in the same direction there. And you feel like if you could choose to play in that environment as opposed to on the road where all of that could seemingly be working against you, I think everybody understands they'll take their home address. So for it to turn out the way it has for the Texas Rangers over this postseason, 10-0, undefeated, you guys said it, I do think that you almost have to just throw your hands up and quit trying to, figure out how it happened and just appreciate that it's happening. But I think when you start to dive in, really it's more mental for me than anything else. And it's about being able to block out and compartmentalize and execute the task at hand. And, I was watching MLB Network before the game, and this is this afternoon, and John Smoltz is talking about, hey, I don't want to tell you how cliche it is, but if John Smoltz is talking about postseason baseball, shut your mouth and listen. The guy pitched in 7 seven deciding games. So he's the one saying you got to take it pitch by pitch. And I know, like, it's just not attractive analysis, but when you're talking about tapping into a mindset, a championship mindset, and he's giving you that to chew on, I think you really have to think about how much weight that carries.
Dallas, when the Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup last year, everyone watching talked about the aggressiveness with free agents. Like, the Vegas was very aggressive. If there's a good player available, it seemed like they went and got them. You look at what Texas has done. They've spent a lot of money in the last couple of years. Semien, Seager, DeGrom, although DeGrom got injured, they traded for Scherzer. Like, do you think that's just luck? Like, you make those transactions. Do you think a team has to do that to be effective, or did they just catch some luck with the guys that they acquired?
Not lucky at all. You've got a brilliant man at the helm in Chris Young, former big leaguer, I might remind you, and he, like many intelligent individuals do, surround themselves with people who are probably smarter than they are. And when you're talking about a guy like Chris Young, I don't know how many people you just have in your Rolodex that are smarter than you. He's a brilliant guy. Baseball IQ through the roof as well. So when you start to pair that with him also understanding as a former player, look, we need guys in this building who maybe they're not going to be friends with everybody. Maybe they're not going to be your first option to babysit, but they're going to be guys who get after it. And sometimes those guys cost money, and you're going to have to spend money to get high-profile players, high-production-type players into the room. And when you're able to land in a spot where you've got great personalities, great team chemistry, great baseball IQ, as well as, like I said, some road dogs in there, that's when you see a team start to do what the Texas Rangers have done. So it's no mystery to me that the combination of baseball IQ, baseball savvy, and financial acumen has been able to lead the Texas Rangers to where they're at right now. Because it's one thing to roll the balls out there, write the checks, and hope everything works out. It's another for the chemistry to play into how they are winning baseball games. And again, back to the 10-0 at home, they have figured out how to come together and keep their head down and work towards the finish line. And they are one win away from bringing a World Series championship to the Texas Rangers organization.
You think the D-backs are dead in the water? I know they were down 0-2 to Philly, and they got it done. Do you think they can do it again, or are they just out of gas?
It's usually the water moccasin that's the big swimmer in the snake world. I don't know how many rattlers are out there taking leisurely swims. So, yeah, dead in the water, I think, is a fair assessment. But let's be reminded that the reason that the Diamondbacks are in this position right now is because they have been in this position before, and they put it together, and they made their way to the World Series. So if you want to count out a team who's been down in this very spot before and made their way out of it, well, go ahead. But I think you have to let the baseball guys kind of play this one out. But if you are, if you have any sort of interest in how this is going to play out outside of just being a rooting fan, I think you're probably paying attention to what the Texas Rangers offense has been able to do. Even Light and Adolis Garcia, Enter Jankowski, they've still got some depth outside of him. So I think it's probably a safe assessment that the Texas Rangers will be 11-0 at the end of all of this, and they will have their first organizational World Series championship.
With Dallas Braden, Game 5 World Series tonight. All the books have Corey Seager as a massive favorite to win the MVP. I don't think anyone can really argue with that, considering the way he's been performing. Marcus Semien would probably be behind him. But, O brought this up earlier in the chat, Dallas. Like, those were the two guys, same offseason. Within a couple of weeks, they gave Seager $300 million. Yeah. They gave Semien $250 million.
Seager's a monster.
Seager's a monster, man. Like, it just changes everything in your organization, doesn't it? Like, even DeGrom. Imagine they had DeGrom on the mound tonight. Although Eovaldi's been great, but they've spent, and it is obviously paid off, and it likely will finish tonight.
Well, and what it feels like with Seager right now is, look, I can't get into too much of the X's and O's when it comes to the Puck Boys. That's probably more your arena. But it feels like you'd be able to go through a line change and just one guy find himself on the ice, and you still feel like, you know what, we got a good shot here. We feel really good about being able to put the puck on the net right now. That's kind of what Seager feels like, right? If he only gets to hit once every 3 innings and we just skip everybody else in the lineup, still feel like Seager gives us a pretty good shot to win this ball game. And that's where he's at right now. And the fact that it was going to have to be Semien and Seager to really kind of rear their heads as that dual-headed monster, the $500 million middle infield, as they've been labeled, and rightfully so. And now they're justifying the paychecks. And I think that was something that you wanted to have happen. I know having the personal relationship that I do with Marcus, I mean, that is just an A-plus human being. There's not a better dude going in the game, and we haven't even started to talk about what he brings to the field, just the human aspect of it all. You're not pulling for anybody but Marcus in that situation. And so watching this club unfold the way they have, and knowing that Seager and Semien have played the roles that they have, you can see why the monetary commitment was made, because it's already showing the impact.
Dallas, before we get you out of here, are you still cooking with that custom Volkswagen van? I know I've DM'd you before and asked you about it. You still rocking that thing?
It, 67 split window, baby, 21.
Wow. You just cruise around on that, or do you collect them, or is that just for show, or what's the deal with it?
Oh, no, that's a cruiser. Yeah, we take that baby for a spin. Was not able to take it to the last trunk or treat because we like to set it up long ways, pop the doors open, have everybody come in. You're only allowed one space, so we weren't able to take her out for that. But what we do is just kind of pull that baby out, cruise around the neighborhood. You know, that's kind of go check out Halloween decorations, go check out Christmas decorations. And originally it was purchased because we are Great Dane owners, and so we just throw the Danes in the back of that bad boy. They can stick their head up through the rag top, and we cruise down the road, and everybody has a good day.
That's outstanding. He is Dallas Braden, former MLB pitcher. The podcast is Baseball is Dead podcast. Game 5 of the World Series tonight. We could be into the offseason as of midnight tonight, so enjoy it tonight, Dallas, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Hey, no problem. Rangers got their ace on the bump in a deciding game. Texas Rangers fans glued to the TV tonight. Thanks for having me, boys.
Absolutely. Dallas Braden. Love having him on. And, yeah, this would be quite the journey for Texas, right? They've never won a World Series. If they go 10-0 on the road, you get it done tonight. You party in Arizona. You fly back to Texas. Listen, if you're in Arizona, you can do the Vegas thing too, right? Like they could be in Vegas tonight by 1 a.m., something like that, local time, Vegas time. They wanted to. So there's a lot at stake here. And Corey Seager.
I can't imagine the nerves like the day of. I've been to the finals, but it was like after game 1, you're like, okay, 3 more. Can we get 3 more? We win the Stanley Cup, but it never got that far mentally. To go to the rink, to go to the ballpark, knowing there's a chance to win it that night, I don't care how good you are, how much experience you have. That's got to be an experience.
Absolutely.
I've talked to guys where they felt like they're going to win that night. They don't have that afternoon nap. It's too late. It's too deep into the playoffs. They're like, we potentially have 1 game left. Like, I'll sleep later. Like, you just – everything. My buddy Robin Regier, when he was playing in L.A., he took up the drums. He said he would go down in the basement and play the drums just to kind of like – just to keep his mind – off anything else. He said, I needed a distraction during the day because you're just so anticipating the game that night. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like you don't play at noon in the World Series or a Cup final. Like right. you're sitting there all day.
Yeah, and it's real deal. Like, you know, they say when you're a kid, you're getting a hit to win the World Series or scoring a goal to win the Stanley Cup, making a putt to win the Masters, and to actually get to that moment, wow, that'd be something, man.
Yeah,
that would be a rush.
Well, speaking of the Masters, you see Jon Rahm threw out the first pitch last night, and he was wearing the Masters jacket.
Dude, see? I told you.
I'm surprised. I owe you an apology. I never thought that Masters. I didn't think it would show up in social settings like that last night.
That's why I asked you guys. I've been telling you for 10 years, if there's a cocktail reception or I'm going somewhere with my wife, I'm wearing my alumni jacket.
Right. I guess
dig it. Yeah, they're like, that's a cool jacket.
Yeah, but the first pitch, it's kind of like when Mike Weir won. Remember, he came back and he dropped the puck for the Leafs. They were in the playoffs. It might have been playing Ottawa. You wear it for a ceremony like that. Like Rahm would have been absolutely melting in that jacket in Arizona last night. He had pants and the jacket on. He would have been sweating profusely. But it's one thing to throw out the first pitch, drop the ceremonial first puck. It's another thing to be at some guy's house a housewarming party in the back, and you got a Masters jacket on.
Dude,
or a Maple Leaf alumni.
You don't think people would be appreciative of that if there was a cocktail party for Christmas and he came in? It's green, it's Christmas, and it's the Masters.
I don't think so. I think it's just so it's a narcissistic move, because then it's like, all right, we're all going to talk about that. Hey, what happened on Thursday? Oh, was it Brooks Koepka you play? Like, you got to go through the whole thing.
Oh, you're telling me you wouldn't be up in his junk and you'd say, let me try the jacket on.
He doesn't need to wear the jacket, though, for me to launch into that, is my point. I know it's Jon Rahm.
I know for a fact if you went to Rahm's Christmas party and he had that green jacket on, you'd have a couple vodkas and you'd say, can I have the jacket? I want to try it on.
I'd want to try it on. I absolutely want to try it on, and that would be
why are you
cool.
saying it's stupid? You're just jealous because you don't have any jacket of significance.
You're right. I don't have a jacket of significance. I do not.
So
have
what
a
you do, like everything else, you put down people that have cool jackets.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead,
I'm going to interject. He does have a jacket of significance.
What?
I watched him wear it the other day. We all got nice TSN winter coats, and they have TSN on the
That's right. I
sleeve,
do have that.
Do they not?
I do.
And
You're
Hayes
right.
was rocking it, I'm telling you.
I do have a jacket of significance. I represent TSN,
Dude,
professional
no
broadcaster.
Disrespect. No disrespect. You can buy that thing at Walmart.
No, you can't. You can't get a TSN official jacket. No, that thing's a beautiful jacket. Yeah. It's a beautiful jacket.
Dude. But in order of Leaf alumni, Masters, it's not even in the same ballpark.
Obviously, it's not as exclusive. I'm sure.
Like I would say, if you had a dialed-in yellow Sarnia Sting one, Barry Colts, that's a cool jacket.
I don't think the OHL is at the same level as the Masters, or a Maple Leaf alumni. I'm not downplaying the significance of the jacket or how cool the jacket is. You throw out the first pitch, you go to the alumni box. Of course you're wearing the jacket. I'm saying, hey, it's, we're having a little party over here. You want to pop by, there's going to be a few people, and you bomb in there with your alumni jacket.
Dude, it causes a stir. It gets people's attention. They're like, oh, that guy played for the Leafs? That's good. You're like,
I know, but then you got to ask about it, right? It's a mandatory ask is my point. And it's like, then it becomes the whole jacket show. Like the jacket becomes the star of the show.
Dude, I don't care what you say. There's a cocktail reception or some kind of event, some gray slacks, some some beige slacks. It looks dynamite.
With the alumni jacket, I agree with you. It's great. Beige, gray, it doesn't matter. It's a sharp jacket. And the Masters jacket
in his head.
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't think of the name beige, and I had wires crossed in my head, and they melted.
Well, it's all good. I like the jacket. The Masters one, you got to go win that, right? Like you got to win the Masters. And I thought it was cool. He was out there. He's from Arizona, lives in Arizona. He didn't bring him a lot of luck last night, though. Arizona's in trouble. Game 5 tonight. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We got a parlay going tonight. Under the number, Raptors-Bucks. The way the Raps are operating right now, I just can't see them scoring. I can't. The number's 224. I can't see it. I see this
What if the Bucks put up 180 on their own?
They could. Right, the way Giannis is going, Dame's going, the Bucks are in a good place. But I think the Bucks probably win tonight, possibly big. You hope not. But I'm going to play the under in that. Corey Seager, 2+ total bases. The guy's a machine, like Dallas Braden just said. When he's coming up, he's going to operate. And you're getting huge plus value. This is a different one, admittedly off the beaten path, but I'm reaching here. Jonathan Huberdeau to score tonight is paying plus 330. You're getting huge plus value. At some point, he's going to have a game, right? I think.
Yes.
Like at some point. And we talked about it earlier. Siakam better snap out of it. Like it's a big chance for him to show up. The same thing with Huberdeau tonight. Dallas is in town. They're a good team. He's got to snap out of it. He's got to play well. The Flames have got to get going here. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and find thousands of ways to play. Please play responsibly, 18+ and physically located in Ontario. We'll come back and wrap up a busy afternoon, tee up a busy night. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Game 5 of the World Series tonight. Raptors, Bucks tonight. Just seeing news here that legendary college coach Bobby Knight has passed away. Bobby Knight at the age of 83, obviously famous for his days in Indiana and being incredibly outspoken and throwing chairs, and he was something, man. And, at the age of 83, he passes away. So, obviously, thoughts are with his family and all the schools that he coached at, all the different players that I'm sure he came in contact with as their coach over the years. So, Bobby Knight passing away at the age of 83. You just throw the alumni jacket on for a reason? Is it just for the last segment, or are you going to a cocktail party? Or...
I just wanted to show it to you.
It's a beautiful jacket. It is. You're the only alumni in history to make a second jacket, your own style.
Dude.
I asked an alumni, I said, have you ever heard of any of the alumni getting their own personalized jacket made? And he said, absolutely not. Never heard of anything even remotely close to that happening. So... I appreciate it. You did that.
I like it, and I love the jacket, and I'll wear it. It's a great
jacket.
Everywhere, anywhere, and everywhere.
All right.
Noodles, I need a Flames alumni coat. That's what I need.
I was going to say, you're going to wear your Flames alumni tonight? Why not? You should.
I don't know. I will have a full report tomorrow on how this thing goes tonight. Yes, I'll tell you that.
Please do. Full breakdown. You're placing eyes on these guys for the second time in like 4 days. You're asking for trouble. But, the Flames in action tonight. So it's going to be a good one tonight. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it, as always. Everyone for tuning in today, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that, too. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.